Welcome to the Pondcast, the destination for insightful discussions and interviews on the appreciation, conservation, and husbandry of reptiles, with a focus on turtles and tortoises. Now, let's join our team of turtle nerds.
Welcome. Whoa. Back again for the 85th time. Don't worry if I write checks. I write rhymes. Just kidding. I know, really. But that was a rhyme. I stole that from Dilated Peoples. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Matthew, for pointing out that we were late. Let's see here. Late by 2 minutes. 2 minutes, which is pretty good. It's pretty good, I think. We'll see if Kevin joins us. Kevin Minto, everyone's favorite Diamondback Terrapin and Aldabra Tortoise enthusiast, if he chooses to join us or not, if he's going to have the guts to jump on late. But for now, you've got Steve and I. We're really excited to be here for the Pondcast, episode 85. 85 Pondcasts. It's like I feel like I have to stop and reflect every time that we start one of these. But let's start off with a little bit of. Go ahead. Please.
I was gonna say, as that number gets higher, it's just like holy cow! Like every single time.
I know,
but can't believe it's 85. Can't believe it's 86.
They're special when we do them because we don't do them all the time. So we've been doing it for more than 9 years and only have 85 episodes, which would tell you we don't even do one every month. We have lulls here and there. But it's nice to be able to keep it going and to be able to say that we've been doing it for a really long time. So I wanted to start off with something new. I'm not going to call it a feature because I have this habit of saying, hey, we're going to do a new feature. And then
it never happens.
The next show comes and then it's not happening again. Yeah. So it's just something we're going to do and we'll see if we like it or not. Okay, I'm going to workshop this. So if you're watching right now on the live stream, this is Bonan's Turtles of the World. Okay. And you should know this book. This is a book that I like that was almost falling apart on me because I would leaf through it every single night and just read about every species that's in it, which is a lot of them. So here's what I want to do. If you have this book and there is a species that you want us to talk about tonight, I want you to give us the page number. Okay. That's it. So it's putting a little bit extra in there because instead of just saying, hey guys, what questions do you have? How about, hey guys, what questions do you have about a particular species, but give us the page number and do that little bit of legwork. It'll make it fun because then also we don't even know what we're looking, what we're going to be talking about. So we'll see how many of those we can get in. I'm totally fine with talking about those today. Obviously, that's why I started this new, we're not going to call it a feature thing that we're doing. And also a little bit of housekeeping before. We also have a new t-shirt campaign that just dropped on Bonfire, and the Turtle People Are My Favorite People t-shirt, which is a popular one. I haven't ordered mine yet, but I definitely need to. They have big boy sizes too, so if any of you guys are heavy hitters like yours truly, then you know they're a nice t-shirt that's actually quite flattering even on us large humans. So yeah, not a feature. Very good, Matthew. I like that. So, yeah, and we'll see if Matt joins us. Maybe we'll do Minto's mailbag. Who knows? We'll just see where it goes. I love the new platform, and because of that, I think it just, makes for a fun conversation, whether we have a guest or not, which is really cool. So taking it to the next level. I want to give a little bit shout out to the TTPG live stream and what Michael Thathuvaswamy is doing. He is incredible. I love that he has James on and they have Russ on once in a while. I love tuning into those so much. And it just got me thinking, if any of you guys out there want to start a podcast, do it. There's so much room in the podcast space because they're just fun to listen to and you can kind of string them together one after another. And they're doing such a good job, the TTPG crew, and I love tuning in, and I'm really, really excited about a new podcast started by Michael Skibstead and his crew. And Steve, do they have a title for that yet? Do you know? Right now
they've been calling it Colonia Cast for now, at least. You should start seeing that pop up on Turtle Room channels as well. They're actually using our platform now to start to do the episodes they've been doing over the last couple weeks.
Yeah, it's just It's so great. They had me on for their third episode. It's gaining a little bit of traction. They were talking about changing the name, so I wasn't really sure where they were at with that.
Yeah, right.
But it's just wonderful. You know, for me to go on there as at risk of oversharing, as a 36-year-old balding man, and to be hanging out with those guys who 3 of them are in high school technically right now, another just started college, and to be, you know, the dumbest person in the room, so to speak, is pretty humbling and pretty crazy. They are brilliant. And Michael is just the microcosm of that, right? We've talked about him many times before, but he is like the LeBron James of turtle nerds, like just on the cover of Sports Illustrated at age 16. And you're like, all right, this person's going to change the world, right? I don't know if LeBron necessarily has or not, but you knew he was going to be good really early, right? And I think, you know, Michael is definitely cut from that. Hi, Kevin. How you doing?
I'm great. Hi, guys. Sorry about being late. You know, there's traffic and kids' dinners and things like that, but I'm happy to be here. Excited for the chat.
You look rather trim. I'm not sure if you have a large T-shirt on or if you've been training to be a cage fighter again.
Yeah, I'm going back to cage fighting right now. You know, I'm getting ready for the summertime, so when we go to Chris's house, I can fight you.
I also can't get over your background. Like, it looks like you're in the Emerald City. Like,
it's a cubist thing, you know?
You can visit Kevin, but you have to be in a horse-drawn carriage that's towed by a horse of a different color. That's the only way you can actually get in there. Sorry.
If you guys want to come over, we can make some weird videos in here.
Oh boy.
I know. Don't offer you a good time or something. I forgot what your catchphrase is.
Sexual propositioning of our entire viewership all at once.
Yeah, you know, all 9 of us.
Come over. We can make videos in this weird green room. It's like clockwork green. So
my daughter, my oldest daughter, Veda, she's 5, and she has been asking me to start a YouTube channel for her so she can go on and you know, be like all these people that she aspires to be that she sees on YouTube.
Stop it.
Yeah, she wants to do it. And
what does Amanda say?
So here's the thing: all that she watches on YouTube is other kids playing with toys, and like,
yeah,
oh, no. She wants to do the same thing. So
I love those videos, but I hate when it's adults playing with toys, especially weird ones.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so creepy.
That's all they watch. It's like women in their 40s talking like they're in grade school. It's weird.
Yeah, like I'm okay when it's other kids. I don't even if you know that it's like some sort of like, what's the word I'm looking for? The moms who are like the pageant moms. There's toddlers and tiaras, like that stuff. Even if it's that, like that type of parent who's putting their kid on there, like so that they could bring in the money. Like, you know, like Ryan's parents are making mad dough.
Yeah.
That kid from YouTube, right?
Millionaire.
He made like 30 million or something like that last year.
It's stupid, yeah.
But but Ryan's World, yeah. But like I'm okay with that when it's adults, like creepy adults that are being watched by my kid. That like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. I don't know.
No, I'm with you. Yeah,
it's just my thing. It's just my thing.
So I've gone in the playroom, you know, and I'm like, hey, pretend like we're filming, like go ahead and do it. And the quality's just not there yet, you know. The conversation is not there yet for anybody. But on top of that, I'm actually considering it, but I would make it like a private thing so that we can load it up on like our TV, but no one in the world can watch it. Just so she's like pumped by it, you know, that you can get her practice aspect of it.
That's cute.
Yeah. And if she wants to share with like grandma, she can.
It's tough at that age, right? She's only 5, so it's tough at that age.
Yeah.
But I think when they get a little bit older, like I could see it. If they're gonna do everything, like I'd be okay with it, but it'll never happen in my house because my wife would never. She doesn't even let me post photos of the girls on like holding a turtle. So that's a whole different thing. But
Shannon.
So we started off with a new, we're not calling it a feature type thing.
Okay.
And we'll get to that. I saw 1 page number so far that someone shared. So we're going to look at page 314, the pie page, 314. We'll look at that at some point. We're not going to do it right now. We talked about some podcasts. We talked about, and we kind of we were getting into kind of the future and talking about Michael a little bit. Now we have page 275 as well. Michael's just the best. He's.
What are these pages you're referring to?
So I showed them see, now I'm repeating myself only 10 minutes in, Kev.
Sorry.
We're better than this. I have a book, and if people wanted us to talk about certain species, we could do that, but we have to look, they have to give us the page in the book. And this is really dangerous too, especially with this book, because it's outdated. There's stuff that's like from, there's like nomenclature in there that's not accurate anymore. Sure. And I want to try to stay away from just reading the paragraph to people. But we'll see.
What book is it?
Turtles of the World, the Frank Bonin book.
Okay.
You know the book, the one with.
I think I have a different one.
Do you have the one with the green? The different.
I think so. No, I have this.
Oh yeah. That's Pritchard, 1976. 1976, 78?
I don't know the year.
You have to tell me, 78.
What's really cool is that I actually just found this out in this exact moment. I didn't notice it. I ordered this book. It is, I actually listened to an audio piece by you today where you talk about how impactful it is to get like an inscription in a book that's like to you and whatnot. And while this isn't to me, it is marked to Kevin. So I'll just pretend.
What?
Yeah, I bought this.
That's hilarious.
On, I don't know, some website.
Well, it's to Kevin. It's not by Dr. Pritchard though, right? It's just somebody who bought it for Kevin.
No, love Don, Carol Ann, and Erica. So I don't think. Yeah.
Now I want to get all caught up. Like, do you think that Kevin liked it?
So Kevin is working towards his ultimate goal of becoming a vet med in vet medicine. So there's a good chance he did if he was, wanted to go towards exotics. And the book looks well loved. It's seen its time out in the world, that I'm happy to put it on my shelf.
Okay, cool.
And I'm sorry if you guys hear a groaning basset hound in the background.
Yeah, that's okay.
He wants to hang out with me.
We'll live. It's okay. He's just a little bit squeaky. It's okay.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that in a little bit. I just wanted to start by talking about kind of the challenge that we as turtle keepers face. So I think if we look at the reptile world as a whole, I think that like the snake folks and now lizard folks have dealt with a fair bit of legislation and really some negative stigma around what they do. And I think that we're starting to see that a lot in the turtle space as well, but it's always different for us, right? Because turtles are more endangered and they're more susceptible to things that, that affect their populations. And it's weird because like I try to stay active in the reptile world just in general, just so I could kind of see what's going on. And, they don't talk about things on that side like conservation quite as much or the same way that we do. So I think, I kind of wanted to touch on that, but I also wanted to talk about how do we do better? How do we do the best that we can? Right? Kev's just listening to me twice.
No, I'm trying to mute it. Sorry. Remember, I have to answer all the chats, so I'm loading it up on like 9 different screens of different places it's playing.
You don't have to, because it's pretty much just me, you, and Steve. So one of you guys should talk to me if you don't mind.
No, I plan to talk to you this entire time. I just want to load up.
So how do we do that?
I apologize once again. I was late.
Don't apologize. It's okay. We're going to make it through. We're going to make this work. How do we do better is the question that I want to pose. So I have a couple of ideas, but does anything come to mind? Or do you just want to listen to me talk? Because I can do that, Speaking of which, my podcast that you listened to today, I did a run through. Yeah. I used the Turtlely Devoted platform to do a run through on a podcast that I was going to call like Anthony's Ramblings. It's just like me driving somewhere and I'm just talking because like how much easier. But those times when I can't shut my brain off, and I loved it. It flowed. It was so great. I had such a good time. Like, this is it. I found it. I found it. And I had Shannon listen to it, and she thought I was joking. She's like, this is the worst thing I've heard in my entire life. Like she could not believe that I was serious. She really thought that I was joking. So Kevin is the only person outside of my home to have ever listened to it. And you listened to it today, Kevin. What'd you think?
Yeah, I listened to it, 35 minutes ago.
That's all you have to say.
No, I'll tell you more about it. The basic gist is there's parts of it that I agree with Shannon, right? Like as far as, you're driving, your GPS is just talking to me. I'm learning about your trip going to Massachusetts.
It was pretty good,
part,
right?
No, I hated that part. That part sucks. It takes you out of the whole thing.
Welcome to Massachusetts.
Yeah,
Pretty
I would
awesome.
say that you really found your stride about like 20 minutes in. The last the last like 20, 25 minutes were like really good to where you started focusing on like David S. Lee in the book and the laws as far as ESA goes with the Egyptian tortoise and whatnot. And I thought that could be really impactful if your ramblings were focused though. They can still be ramblings, but need to be focused. So you decide like, hey, you know what? I got a half hour in the car. I'm not going to have my GPS going. And I want to talk about this specific topic. I read this article and it was great. And I want to disseminate this information into a more palatable way for like the general population that are into turtles that may look at a research paper and be like, what is this abstract, the conclusion? They're struggling with that aspect of it where you can talk about it in more like layman's terms. I thought that was really cool. I thought it'd be a really good way to get the information out because even me doing research for school right now, I don't like reading research papers. I don't enjoy it. I like the nuggets of information I pull out of it, but not the entire basis of like, reading a 10-page article to find out 6 little pieces of information. So listening to that, what you said was great.
That's one of the early feedback that I got about the Turtle Room, because we were doing a lot of a lot of writing that we're putting on the website and stuff like that. Like, how do we take the scientific information and put it into a more digestible format so that people can, you know what I mean? So we could bring that. And the Pondcast was an early part of that as well. Like, let's get this information and put it out there for people. So you're totally right. And I know that it was crap. But I had fun. So when I listen to, because I listen to tons of podcasts, when I listen to a podcast and like, I appreciate when I'm listening to Simon Sinek and his podcast is curated and edited and it's perfect. I really enjoy it. But I also enjoy when a podcast is completely raw and it doesn't go perfectly. And all of a sudden one of the hosts drops off or shows up a few minutes late. Not saying anything. Like, it's totally fine. Like, it is what it is. You're listening to it. It's just a couple of people having a conversation. Like, it doesn't bother you in a sitcom when you're watching it and another character walks in 5 minutes into the episode. Yeah. Kramer comes in shaking his hairdo around. Like, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's not it doesn't need to be perfect and feel curated. It's okay if it feels real. And that's why I wasn't totally sure about like the GPS and the car sound in the background and stuff like that. But yeah, I know it's bad. It's okay. I'm just
ways you could avoid that in the future if you need the GPS aspect is just wear headphones, right? So you're using this as your audio in and your audio out. And then you'll hear that stuff, but the viewers won't hear it. It's like when Steve talks to us and we hear, but nobody else does. Be that concept.
Yeah, and then we get all off kilter about it.
Anthony can't handle that.
So part of what I was talking about there, and now what I was kind of going into just earlier as well is how do we do better? One of the big ones is legislation that's being passed and everything. And I always try to, and you mentioned David Lee, who I talked about in that as well, who just
literary
I've talked
hero.
about him many times. Yes, he is my literary hero. I talked about him many times on the podcast, and everything that man wrote was completely perfect in my eyes. It was he was so funny and so creative, and like the analogies he made were just out of this world, like perfect. So if you look into any of his writings, or you can find any of the articles that he wrote, they're always worth having. He wrote a lot for like the Chicago Herp Society and for Radiata, the German journal. I believe he wrote in the Batager as well. But his only book that he published is Gulfstream Chronicles, which is not a turtle book. It does touch on turtles, but it basically just details his time out at sea and kind of things that he learned and observed while he was out there, kind of on fishing boats and things like that. But he's also a birder in addition to a turtle person. But the man is just incredible. And one of the things that's amazing about his work is that he always.
Pretty sure you're not supposed to call him a birder.
No, you're not supposed to call them bird watchers.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, bird watcher is like bird watcher is to stripper as
exotic dancer.
Birder is to exotic dancer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's his analogy. Yeah, that's his, which is just terrific.
Terrific. So my wife's an esthetician, as you know, and she has friends that at work, they do massages. And I call them like a masseuse. She's like, don't ever call them masseuse. I'm like, what? She's like, no, they're massage therapists. You call them masseuse and it sounds sleazy. Yeah.
That makes sense. I'm with it. Yeah. So one of the things he always in all of his writing is to challenge us to do better. And his favorite article has to do with Geomyta japonica, the Ryukyu black-breasted leaf turtle, which most people know is a species that I really love. And that article, it's something it's a really long title, but it's something to the effect of like keeping endangered species under the guise of conservation, a case study on the black-breasted leaf turtle, from the Ryukyu Islands in Japan. And it basically says, and I've talked about this on the podcast in the past, but it basically says, stop getting animals and saying it's for conservation. And that's where you get into like preservation and all of that sort of stuff. But he really challenges people just to be better. So how do we be better? Do you have anything for that, Kevin? Or should I just tell you my other thoughts?
How do we better? Teaching people to call a spade a spade. If we know what it is, right? And we stop putting labels on something that sounds good for us for like our own ego aspect of it, perhaps, could help us, one, be looked at differently from people like, say, in the scientific community or whatnot. The second part to that would be really kind of curtailing the way the hobby has gone, as far as it goes. And like, I know even as of 6 years ago, I was like way more into the classifieds. I'm in it every day looking for like new turtles and whatnot until I figured out like what I wanted to really focus on. But I think that's just, unfortunately, it all comes down to a lot of different kind of facets of like, you go to a reptile show and there's, 50 vendors that are selling, imported animals that recently, wild caught animals, and everybody just buys it there. Or they're taking those animals, they're flipping them online and they're getting different prices on them. And the fact that anybody can pretty much buy anything you want on the internet right now lends itself for us to be looked at in a negative way from anybody outside of like, this hobby.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I've mentioned many times, the classifieds are the most visual account of who we are. And that's a real shame, especially for those of us that aren't big in like the sales part of all of this. And, how do we combat that? And I think it's by putting stuff out there, creating our own content. And that's why I say like the space, don't look at this and say, oh my gosh, there's already a turtle podcast. And now the TTPG is doing a live stream. And now these young guys are doing a podcast. And there was the What the Shell podcast. And there's all these different turtle podcasts. There's not. If you look on the snakes side of things, like there's all sorts of, podcasts out there that are called reptile podcasts, even though they're just snake people. Why can they do that? I don't know. I've talked about that before too.
Well, what I like about ours right now, sorry to interrupt.
Please, no, interrupt.
You look at ours and you look at Colonia Cast and the TTPG, and even like what Ryan Dumas, is it Ryan Dumas? What he's
yeah. Let's talk turtles. Yeah.
Let's talk turtles. They haven't had one in a while, so Ryan, if you're watching, I'm waiting for the turtle mythology version 2. Let's get on it.
No pressure.
Yeah.
You take your time. You take your time and get to it when you get to it.
Yeah, but we're seeing different things, right? So like TTPGs focuses on like people with a specific project a lot of times, right? Like what they're working on, this exact thing. And I think it's really insightful because you can find out about an animal that somebody's working with that you may never thought of working with before, and like either the struggles or the achievements that they're having with it, which is really neat and gives you either like a jumping off point or know like, hey, you know what, this actually just I've thought about in the past, but this isn't right for me because of where I live or whatnot. And you take like Cast, which honestly, Michael, I'm sorry I haven't listened to yet, but I'm just hearing from you, Anthony, how great it is. And I know Michael personally, you know, from just being part of the Turtle Room and talking to him over the past couple of years, and we had him on the podcast years ago. He's
Yep.
the I don't want to call him a kid, but he's like the brightest kid there is, you know, as far as this goes. And I'm really excited to like see kind of what that brings. But it's like I said, it's a totally different kind of topic than what we do. Ours a lot of time is just general chit chat and like what the bro banter was called once. You know,
Yes, it was.
so
Yeah.
yeah, I think ours is
That's
pretty
true.
cool because it's more open to everybody that wants to listen. People chime in from, you know, all different streams. Well, we have it going in like 4 different areas now, like YouTube, Facebook, and multiple channels on Facebook, Twitch, and being able to kind of meet with all these different people in different areas and be able to talk to them live like this, I think is really impactful as well. You know,
Yeah.
I still find it weird, like really, really weird, because I know I've been doing this on here for like 4 years now. But I'll get like a message like, I've been watching you for years. I'm like, I'm weirded out by this because I don't know who you are.
Isn't that cool? I've been talking
Yeah,
to a
it
guy
is.
this
It
week
is, but I'm weirded out
who's from
still.
Sweden, who
Yeah.
I never knew, and just this week he reached out, and I've been talking to him, and he's like, "There's, you know, there are reptile people in Sweden, but there's not turtle people," and he said to find your podcast. I've been into turtles for like 30 years, but to find your podcast finally made me feel like there were other people like me. I was like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Wow. Okay.
Like that was, oh my gosh, I was like totally falling
This is
over
Sweden?
this. I needed it. Yeah, I needed it.
Yeah. And
But
so
what
that
are-
means, no, was it Sweden or was it Switzerland?
It was definitely Sweden because
Sweden,
I had
okay.
I was talking to him because I had when I played basketball in college, I had teammates from Sweden, and I learned a lot about the world from them, and then I learned a lot about the world from because of turtles, and you know, we were talking about that a lot. You know, Americans are we have such tunnel vision when it comes to world culture and our views and stuff like that. And I'm definitely, you know, not immune to that, or I definitely fit that mold. But yeah, but I think like podcasts are just one example. Podcasts are not the way to do it, but there's always room for people to do writing. There's always room for people to make YouTube videos if they're good. If you know, as long as you're be willing to say I don't know the answer, or here's what I think, or that, like, careful about how you word things. I think is because, you know, Steve and I started doing things early on when we still had a lot of questions, like even when we started the podcast or when we were making YouTube videos early on, and we leave them up even though they make me cringe now. But like, you know, a lot of them. Hi, Amanda. A lot of them
That's my
are
work,
still,
everybody.
you know, they're still useful even though they're not perfect. So I think that's the takeaway, right? And I challenge everyone here to be a writer. Like, it feels great if you haven't actually like published an article, like, you know, be a writer. Actually work on it, make an outline, and put together a few paragraphs and publish something in the Badager or you know, wherever. A lot of periodicals, online magazines, things like that are looking for good content. So
I
that's
attempted to
one
write
thing.
once. Didn't go well.
No, we actually finished something. Did you finish that or no?
No. I started something about like the local spot that I have, and you know how
I remember that.
how you know like varied the species are there from like what we have in Connecticut. And but I remember like your first feedback was like, you just need to write more, be like more detailed, things like this, and then I just never got to it. But after like this last year, I've been back in school and like learning to write more. I think I want to revisit that aspect of it.
Yeah, that's all school is,
and
right? Is jumping through hoops, writing. You know.
Yeah, that's all
That's
it's
it.
been. Yeah, just consistently just writing papers every
That was
single
my
week, and I'm
master's degree.
tired of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all it shows, right? It's like when you go for a job interview and you have a wedding ring on, like, okay, well, at least one person can stand this person. So
Yeah.
like, that's a good sign. But it's the same thing if you have a degree. All it really shows is this person can jump through hoops, and as many hoops as necessary until they get a piece of paper, and they can write. I mean, at least, I mean, even that's changing though. I think higher education has become kind of, I don't know, a shade of its former self in terms as far as that goes. But because I see a lot of people who I hire who have college degrees and can't really write. But that's something that, like I said, we're hiring people. If they have a college degree, at least they could write. So,
Hey, can I take a moment and address everybody out there?
Yeah.
take a moment. Do me a favor.
All right.
Take a moment and address everybody out there.
Yeah, that's my plan. I'm going to do that right now. Hey, so everybody out there
Awesome.
watching now and watching later, first and foremost, I'd like to apologize because you haven't really gotten any new content out of the Turtle Room via YouTube for the past couple of years. And I blame that entirely squarely on myself
This is
from
awkward.
just,
This is awkward.
little kids and work. You say it's awkward?
It's awkward.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's going somewhere. It's going somewhere. Don't worry.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So far, it's awkward. Continue.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And I want you to know that I had every single intention to get right back on the horse because I'm finally starting to get some free time to myself. I have days off where I don't have like, a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old like attached to me. They're in school, so I can do some of this stuff. And the most local source for me to film stuff as far as turtles goes is the guy that's where you're watching. I don't know where he's positioned, but to the side of me somewhere or above me, and Anthony, that guy. And last minute, literally like with 10 minutes before I'm about to walk on my house, he's like, don't come. And he just bailed on me. He just didn't want to see me.
I'm so happy I got to you, though, before you left. That was big.
Yeah.
That was big. Yeah.
Well, you're 30 minutes away, so it's not a big deal.
So listen, I'm going to challenge everyone here. Do better. Be a better, steward and advocate for the turtles of the world. And I was not a good, well, I can't say I was bad so what I did, I'm like a training leader now for VCA animal hospitals in the Northeast. So one of my trainers woke up like super sick that morning, and I was supposed to have time. I told everyone, I was supposed to be playing with turtles all morning with my friend Kevin. Like this was the plan. We were going to be shooting video and talking turtles. And she was sick, woke up sick that morning. And I needed to run to cover for her and run the training for the day. Believe me, it was not what I wanted to be doing. And then I had a meeting at night. I was going to go in late that day. I had a meeting at night. So it was like a whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sure. Well, you let me know when you're available again and we'll figure it out. So people of the turtle world,
I probably won't
in the turtle room world, we'll be with you soon. Ish.
Listen, I'm saying we all need to be better, including me that day. Does that make sense? Does that bring it back?
I mean,
absolutely.
All you can do is the best you can do, and it'll be good enough every day as long as you do the best you can do, whatever that best happens to be on any given day.
Steve is like
this is
motivational
the year I want to
poster.
do a lot of stuff.
I'm looking at the book. I'm trying to pick some
where were those
pages. 314. 314 was the first one.
Now, are these people have the book and they're calling out the pages? Like, how do they know what page it's on?
Oh, here's the question then. So on 314, we have two species that we could talk about. One is Cora. This is the fun part too, because usually there's two species.
I would think it would be the bottom one that actually has the title there. But
I thought so too. Yeah, but at first I thought I figured it was the Cora, but yeah. So we have Cora Joey on there, which is spelled with a ZH, but it's pronounced
ZHOE, right? Or I?
Yeah,
ZHOU.
Oh,
I. But it's pronounced Joey. Just in case anyone's wondering, I didn't know that until Chris Hagen told me that. So Cora Joey. And that's not what we're talking about, though. We're talking about Cyclemys atropons, which is the western black-bridged leaf turtle. And I really thank you for bringing up a species that I know something about, because I actually keep them. Last year, I got some eggs from them, which they actually laid in the land area and like buried, which is so wonderful, really good sign. But of course, they're infertile, which is all anyone who has this species in the U.S. gets. I think there's 3 people, including myself, that I know of. So that's it's a really cool species, really pretty turtle. It was described by John Iverson and Dr. Bill McCord, which is really cool. Just in 1997. And then there's another species, Pulchra striata, which is basically identical. And supposedly there's like a striping on the neck that differentiates the two, but like you can't tell them apart if you see the two. And I think it was like kind of like a shout out or like a we'll overlook this one sort of thing by science, that they didn't synonymize those two species because they're like the same thing. But anyway, Anyway, they're really cool, and not many people. I mean, the thing with cyclemes in the U.S. is that a lot of people don't know what they have. Like, they come from different areas. The science doesn't even necessarily know what everything is, and there's some disagreement on that. And there's some species that were described, and then they were kind of debunked, and like no one really kind of knows. I mean, I'm sure if we had like Fritz on here, he would be able to tell us, because he wrote that paper, I think, in 2007. That's really the most what's the word, comprehensive paper that's been written on cyclemes, but it's still kind of a mess. So anyway, that's cyclemes atropons.
Yeah,
you got
one of the
Steve?
groups of turtles that's in taxonomic limbo and has been for some time. It's a mess.
Yeah, but you know, that's what makes it exciting, because maybe we know something, you know, 20 years from now, 15 years from now, that we don't know now. But I mean, with the way, the direction in which the world is going, with people moving animals around more and habitats being fragmented and destroyed and that sort of thing, it only gets tougher and tougher to figure that stuff out.
Oh yeah.
So
for sure.
Speaking of that, the next Pondcast, which will actually be on April 11th, so it'll be the second Monday of April, second Monday of April.
Second.
That will be with Zach Loafman, who is a absolutely brilliant professor who has his doctorate, and he's really well known in reptile circles, but not necessarily in turtle circles. But we're going to bring him on and talk to him about some things, you know, like, I never pronounced this right, Steve, help me out. Clinal.
That's right.
Clinal
variation,
yeah, which happens over time, which is actually what's more appropriate in terms of how we wrap our head around and compartmentalize different species, as opposed to, you know, here's this subspecies, then you go, you know, however many miles away, however many states away, and now it's a different subspecies. Like, no, it actually changes over time, and everything in between isn't an integrate. It just changes over time. And if you take two animals from across a range, they're going to show up as different when you look at the DNA. So that kind of changes, and I think turns more biologists into lumpers, but like what happened with the Delta map turtles, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, the Nigronota, the black knobs. Actually, I'm going to put the textbook definition of a cline in biology on the screen for everybody.
I would love that. Can you do that?
I'm going to try to.
Who am I hearing in the background? Kevin, you having a party over there?
Yeah. I'm going to mute it. I have a 5-year-old.
I love it. No, that's okay. I love it. Okay, I'm scrolling down because I want to see what other page numbers I need here. I see Derek's at 321. Okay, D, you're going to throw me a curveball? I don't have to answer every one of these either, Kevin. Ooh. Derek gave us Geoemyda sylvatica, which is no longer considered to be a part of, and there's the definition for clinal variation. I'll read it. In biology, a cline is a measurable gradient in a single character or biological trait of a species across its geographical range. Thank you, Stephen, with a PH. You are
so. Can you give an example of that?
Very smart and helpful.
Well, yeah. So the black knob map turtles used to be two subspecies, and they were differentiated by how big their plastron pattern was typically the biggest standout trait. The skin color also got slightly darker from north to south as the plastron also got darker. But so they were thought to be two subspecies for the longest amount of time until Lovitch and some others I don't know, within the last decade, did a bunch of and Selman might have been involved in that maybe, and Josh Eden, somewhere of the that group of individuals. They took DNA from all across the range, and the intergrade zone was bigger than the two pure zones combined. And then when they took samples from this entire thing, they realized, oh, there's like practically no difference at all.
Okay.
Yeah, it just like steadily going down. They just, their appearance changes. Like you think of like everything is an intergrade zone between Eastern painteds and Midland painteds, like everywhere. Yeah. all the Easterns have the little dot on their belly, you know, like, oh, this one looks a little bit like a Midland, you know, like it's, it just happens over time, you know?
So are you saying that decline is the change of it over time, or like the locality difference, kind of like an Indian star versus a Sri Lankan star?
And it doesn't even necessarily have to be over
reefs.
time. It doesn't even have to be over time. It's just, you know, as the geography changes from like north to south across the state of Alabama in the case of the black knob map turtles. There's some minor visual differences that don't really show up in much of the DNA at all.
And in terms of the example you just used, like that's not really the same because it's an island off the coast, so it's different. Yeah. But when you look at them, you know, their DNA, they're the same thing. So people will claim that Sri Lankan stars are bigger and they have more broad banding, but it's not always the case. Like Kevin Pollack and I, who was on episode 83 and really was a great guest on episode 83, we talk a lot about Sri Lankan stars versus Indian stars, and we like to have fun with people sometimes, and we'll send out pictures of animals where we know they were collected or where the pictures were taken, and we'll send them to people in the pet trade to be like, what is this, and or what do you think this is, or what would you call this? And you know, people will say, oh, that's a Sri Lankan. It's like, well, that was from India, and vice versa, because there are definitely exceptions to the rule in terms of the way that they look. There are like outstanding animals, there are smaller animals, larger animals, less outstanding animals in each. Maybe in Sri Lanka it's more common for them to get larger, and maybe in Sri Lanka it's more common for them to have broad banding. But I think in the pet trade, it's gotten a little out of hand with everyone saying that their animals are Sri Lankan because those have a better reputation for looks as they grow. And now if you look, like all of a sudden 90% of breeders now have Sri Lankan stars, where that wasn't the case 8 years ago. So how many people are lying? Just something to think about. So you guys are feeding me softballs so far with this. So Geomyda sylvatica, which is now in the monotypic genus Vajayacheles. Vajayacheles, I don't know how to pronounce it, but either way it sounds bad.
Closer to the second one than the first one, I think.
The second one's not okay.
The first one wasn't almost safe for a family television show here.
Named after the researcher who dedicated her life and lost her life protecting or at least researching the species. So it's the Cochin cane forest turtle. It's a species that's not in captivity in the U.S. that I know of. It is in captivity in other places, and they're from the Western Ghats in India, which is a very protected area in India. And they're just an awesome species that everybody wants to see, and most of us probably won't see. The males have really red heads, which is really cool. And that's about all I have to say about that. Interesting tidbit. When I was writing my book, I wanted a picture of one, like a unique picture of one that wasn't everywhere. And I reached out to an Indian researcher who was like, yeah, I'll take like $2,000 or a new camera. And we were like, come on, you got to be kidding me. This is like this book might not make $2,000 total in like all the years of selling it. So, and it's not even about them. It's, it's about leaf turtles, mostly, the Ryukyu black-breasted leaf turtle and the Vietnamese black-breasted leaf turtles. Certainly not this Indian species that isn't even in the genus anymore. So it's a really cool species. What's also interesting too, when people, there you go. That's the picture. There you go. That's big time right there. That's big time.
It's a $2,000 photo right there,
we didn't end up paying that because I think it was a lot of negotiation. Like, come on, help us out here. This is ridiculous.
That's a parrot turtle.
But research also shows that, or said, one of the interesting things I found when I was kind of reading up on them a lot for the book is that whenever they're handled, it makes it really easy to get fecal samples and to be able to see what they're eating looking at their feces, because every time they're handled, they poop every single time. And that's something that if you keep Japonica, that's something that they do as well. They kind of make a squeaking noise or like a frantic breathing noise, and they get freaked out, and then they go to the bathroom every single time. If you hold them for any more than a couple seconds, like when I weigh them, I take them, I put them right on the scale, and I put them right back, because like it's that fast that they're just going to crap on everything. And you still have a 50% chance that they're going to get you. But if you take your time, they will get you every time. I thought that was really interesting to hear that about Selvatica, because it's so similar. I know there was a page number from Viviana. I feel like it was 275.
I thought you were writing these down, so I didn't.
No, 275. Let's do it. This is fun.
Found it?
All right, Kevin, you're talking about this one.
I don't have this book.
What? Steve, you're talking about that. Viviana, you should come on and talk about this one.
Viviana should be the one talking about this one, or Chris.
Yeah, I can't talk.
All right, let's send her a link
about that. You don't know. A link to what? A link to get on here and
to
just come on for 5 minutes and just tell us what you know.
You could send it.
Berlander, right?
I'll forward over to you, Viviana. I'm going to send you a link right now in Facebook message.
Tell us things. This is what I want. See, I knew we were going to get a curveball at some point. I mean, to me, Gopherus kind of blends together. So that's the North American tortoises of the genus Gopherus, which includes the gopher tortoise and the Texas tortoise and the desert tortoise and all of that. A lot of those species, like besides the gopher tortoise, blend together in my brain. I'm just saying. Is that bad? Does anyone else have anything to add? Kevin, help me out, man. You're a tortoise guy.
I actually missed what you said as I was sending Viviana the link.
Did you really send her a link?
Yeah,
isn't it the smallest range of all the Gopherus? No, Gopherus flavomarginatus is smaller. That's right.
Oh, there you go.
Man, some of these things have tiny ranges. And,
Scary.
There's also EV Goody, which isn't even in here because it was newly defined. And I'm not entirely sure where what its range looks like in comparison. But some of these are tiny right there along the Texas-Mexico border.
Mm-hmm.
Berlandier's probably in Michaela's backyard, give or take, with where she lives.
It's pretty awesome.
I feel for Michaela. Texas got those cold snaps, and I think it messed with her a bit.
She grew up in Illinois, man.
Yeah, but did it mess with her animals?
I'm her animals.
Animals. Yep. Yeah, you don't expect to have days down where they are to get that cold.
Yeah, she's like on the border of Mexico, pretty much, right?
Basically, you can throw a stone.
Isn't that cool?
Mm-hmm.
I'm having fun with this, even when I don't know the answer.
Let's do another one while we wait for Viv, since it sounds like she was gonna come hop on briefly.
I don't know if
she actually is.
Really?
That's hilarious.
She said she doesn't. She said I'll jump on right now, but she doesn't have makeup on, so we don't care.
We are making television history right now. This is incredible.
Listen, I put enough makeup on for everybody. We're good.
You do look nice. I wasn't sure if it was the green walls offsetting your fleshy tone, but it's nice.
It's
really nice.
Most of it is just to tone down the shine on his head.
Yeah,
that's turtle wax. It's not even shiny too. It's incredible. Wow.
Yeah. I'm a -0 on a Fitzpatrick scale, so I'm just like white paper,
what is this
white line paper.
Name? So we also had a request for Coreticheles insculpta, which is the fly river turtle or pig nose turtle. But when I look at the common name in this book, they're called the pig nose turtle, but the second one isn't fly river. It's the pitted shelled turtle.
Oh, I haven't seen that one before.
What is that about?
So if you look at them a lot, sometimes you'll see like little indentations across the carapace. I didn't know that was the case, but I've seen that in them. Like when we went to McCord's, I've seen it around like the margin where the marginals would be.
So you think that's a normal thing that they have, or you think you've seen animals that?
I have no idea. I'm just saying, like, hearing that now from you, and I think back to it because the moment you said that, every time I hear them, I just think back to like reaching in, like petting one, and how like that was like a weird but like great experience for me. And I remember seeing that.
I don't know if that's normal, or if you're just seeing an older turtle that has like a pit in the shell. Like
Gotcha.
Any turtle I have that's over 40, 50 years old, and like I could call that the pitted shell turtle.
Yeah, but if you think about them, they have more of like a leathery shell than like, a hard carapace. So it might be more prone to see like, any kind of indentations or whatnot.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sold on it. I'm gonna file that under one of the crappier common names that I've seen around.
Okay. All right.
Just Viv is in her PJs in bed. This is hilarious.
Yeah, I don't think she's hopping on.
I now I want to egg her on.
My browser's not supported.
That's what happens when you try to open things in Facebook. But anyway,
Vivian, I'm honestly a big fan of yours, so I'm sorry if I'm not really making fun of you. This is more joking.
Oh gosh, that is so funny. So yeah, Coretta Kelly's Fly River Turtles. What do you have to say, Kat? How do you make you feel when you see
Here we go. Now we're going back to Burley Andieri.
No, you don't have to.
Oh, wait.
Did this just happen?
This just happened.
So if you look at him a lot sometimes, is this
I'm
audio
sorry.
only?
That's fine. You can leave your camera off. We can just listen
I'll
to
leave
you.
my camera off. I don't know what I'm doing.
Woo!
Y'all.
Let's
Sorry
go.
to crash your party.
No,
your turtle party.
Are you kidding me?
We offer
You're
it.
invited. It's not crashing.
We're bringing back one of our best guests right now. This
Oh,
is incredible.
Lordy.
We needed
Took me a minute.
needed a woman's touch too. We struggle when it's
God.
just us. We struggle.
Oh, Lord. Y'all do pretty damn good on y'all's own, y'all. So
That's a lot of y'all.
y'all do pretty
That's a lot
damn
of Texas.
good. That's a lot. There's a lot of Tex-Mex going on right here. There's a lot there's a lot of Tex-Mex happening. Oh my God. I'm glad to make y'all's smiley faces glow and laugh. Look at that. I haven't seen those shining faces in a long time.
I'm blushing.
Oh, you're killing me, Smalls.
I'm blushing.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Can you tell us about page 275?
What do you want to know? Anything.
I want to know everything. What did you want to know?
I don't know. I just literally opened the book and that was it. It was like just one of those magic Harry Potter moments. You just throw the book open and there it landed. I was like, oh, it must be meant to be. Person from Texas wants a Texas tortoise. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. But that's how it's supposed to go. That's okay.
So it's the magic of Texas. I don't know. I actually have a decent story about Texas tortoises. They were heavily commercially taken from Texas in the 50s, and they were used in a cosmetic cream. They were rendered down to their oil used as a cosmetic cream for some movie actress in Hollywood. So it wasn't until like late 60s, so 67, 68, that International Turtle and Tortoise Society Journal, like the old ones from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, did an article on it. I have them too. Yeah. I have it. I'll send. I should have sent. I should have sent the thing to. Maybe I could send it to Kevin. Anyway, and y'all can put up. It's a really good story talking about people here from the Fort Worth Zoo, conservations in Texas and Texas in the late 60s, stopping the commercial collection of Texas tortoises, and so there was housefuls. Like this dealer out in Laredo would just have house full stacked of Texas tortoises being sold in the pet trade, because we knew back then they were popular in the pet trade, and then being sold out to use in an oil face cream cosmetic line. So there you go. There's your Texas turtle fact of the day.
Story.
I'll try to send the link, because I have a screenshot of the article like out of it, and I'd be good for you. You can put it up later, whatever. Anyway, I might find it real quick.
I'd love to know the year and date of that issue too.
It's 1967, the 1968 issue.
I don't know. I don't have many in the early in the 60s.
I have a lot of the 60s ones.
The 60s are the beginning of, like, it was like late 60s to like maybe like 74, 73 or something like that. I have most of the issues in the 70s.
The one I have by my bedside right now is January 1967. So that's the one I have like in my. It's got an Aldabra on it too, Kevin.
What was the magazine?
The International Turtle and Tortoise Society Journal. It's
Oh,
that little
yeah.
journal they put out, and they had watches. You all see the watches that they
Oh
used to
my
put out
gosh.
to their members.
I
I
look-
want one. I
look
tried to
for-
buy
I look
one
f-
on
I look
eBay.
for those on eBay all the
Yes.
time. We're gonna be in a bidding war against each other.
Oh, yeah. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna win because I know I don't have anyone to tell me what not to spend my money on.
Oh my
I'll win. So
Oh
you're
my
gonna
gosh,
have
that's so
you're gonna
funny.
have your better house that you're not spending that much money, and I'm just gonna be like sold.
Before
Anthony,
you
I'll
go,
teach you the eBay tricks.
Yeah, teach me how to find that watch. It's probably the cheapest thing ever made, but I want.
No,
It's probably,
somebody
you know?
posted it. Somebody posted it. I think it was a pin set. So they would send their members like a pin. And someone posted on one of the
Wow.
old antique book pages, all those old book pages that we follow.
Yeah.
And I tried to buy it and I sent in my PayPal, and then I got the things like declined because they weren't really selling it. It just posted on Facebook like they were selling it. So I tried, but I'll find one day.
Wow.
If
I've
I'll
never
buy
really
you, if
seen
I
one
find
besides.
two, I'll buy you one, Anthony. I'll buy an extra
please,
one for
I will
you.
gladly
If I
pay
buy an
you
extra
a
one, you'll
finder's
lose
fee.
your money.
I will lose my mind. I'm losing my mind already just thinking about it. I'm gonna have a dream about it tonight. Like when I play with turtles a lot, and I dream that
There
I'm
you go.
finding
I'll
albino
fa-
spotted turtles everywhere at the pond. Yeah.
I
It's
had a
weird. I don't
dream
know why
about
do we have these
turtles.
turtle dreams?
I do have
I
lots of
do.
turtle dreams. I had turtle dreams
Yeah.
have you ever had this dream where it was kind of a semi nightmare, but not really a nightmare, where I left turtles like in the sink or in the bathtub longer than I'd wanted to. And so I wake up like, oh my gosh, I left that turtle in the bathtub, or oh, I left that turtle soaking in the sink. Anyway, that was my most recent turtle dream a few weeks
I
ago.
usually just find I'm out in the field, which is funny because I don't do a lot of field work like you guys do, like you and Steve do. But I have a dream that I'm like out at the pond and there's just albino painted turtles everywhere, or albino. I don't know why, because I don't even care about morphs, but it's just like, oh my god, look at that! You never see those. I need to catch
That's
it
awesome.
and see it closer. Yeah, I don't know.
The neighbor that lives
I'm
behind me found an albino consina. So there's an albino consina that lived at one point, but he kept it captive now. So I'm like, don't release it. But so yeah, pretty cool.
It's like an excuse to keep something cool too.
That's what, yeah.
Like most people aren't going to put it back out there in the wild. Yeah.
Right.
Before you go, Dominique wanted to wish you an early International Women's Day, and I just want to let you know, I don't know if you've been introduced to her, but she does a podcast, the Modern Medusa podcast, which highlights women
I love Medusa.
and herpetology. So you guys should definitely connect.
Neato.
You should be on her show because you're such a wonderful
Neato.
guest.
I appreciate it, y'all.
Dominique,
I'll
you need to talk to her.
I'll shamelessly plug the Colonia cast with Skibstead and those fine young men. My episode came out today. Episode 5's out there. So
wonderful.
Everyone go over to follow, subscribe, Colonia cast or whatever it is. And I'm today, and then Carl's right after me. So his will be released next. We did a back-to-back, of course.
I love it. You did a back-to-back with us too. That's really funny.
All right. Well, y'all have a wonderful evening, and go on to the next page, and I'll try to find you these screenshots.
Stay cool.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Don't ever change.
Bye.
That was a lot of fun. This is what it's all about, right? That team building, that teamwork, that camaraderie, that connection that you have with people. And for those of you who are new at it, let me just tell you, take it slow and really put in the work, because I think the real connections, I was just talking to Ralph and Charlie about this just today. The real connections that you're able to make with people. Ralph Till of Clearwater, Tampa, Florida, and Charlie Moorcroft of Southern Florida, of the Moorcroft Conservation Foundation.
Very nice.
And I think, looking back to kind of early on getting our start and just wanting to be a part of something important, and now feeling like we're on the right path, like certainly not feeling like we've reached anything, but just having had many years of fun doing it. I think that we really ought to celebrate those partnerships and really be grateful for those partnerships. But when you're kind of starting out and wanting to make a name for yourself, just like take it slow, show people you're in it for the right reasons, that sort of thing. My friend, well, I talked about Kevin Pollak already. He texted me the other day and he said he was telling his friend about me, and he said, yeah, Anthony's weird because he's like a turtle person, but I think he's in it more for the people than the turtles. And I'm like, totally, like for the socialization more than for the turtles, which is totally true. Like #Pondcast, right? Like, because that's what it's about. That's what it's about. It's not about getting the next animal or making the next deal or whatever. And I think the people who understand that and really live that are the ones who are successful. They're in it for the long haul and they have good reputations, right? Like I have so many great contacts and friends that I can lean on because we've had these conversations over the years and everything. You guys are obviously on that list. People like Michael, I talked about, Seth Ubaswamy is on that list. On that short list. And there's so many people who are just good people who are in it for the right reason. And over time you find those people, it's not just about being,
they're all the best.
Yeah, right. Like it's not just about being, and that's why I think he's been so successful with his live stream, because people genuinely like him because he's a genuine good person. Yeah. Because he's just a good person who's in it for the right reason. So I think that's how we turn the tide a little bit. I think going back to our original conversation, our original thought, how do we make a difference? I think it's just thinking with through more of a macro lens. And, we talked about people on the snake side and stuff like that. You can't get away with like live handling a venomous snake and not doing it right. You're going to get called out by everyone. I don't see a ton of like calling out of certain people. Can I just be like totally real? Like more than I am usually. I'm usually pretty diplomatic and I try not to step on toes. But like, how many people do we know of who have been arrested for wildlife crimes that just post all over the place, like on Facebook, in turtle related stuff that are just like active and like are part of the crew, right?
Contributing members of the community.
Yeah, right. Some really big names at times too. And I know that like people listen, I was a social worker. Nobody believes in second chances more than me. Like I could never really do jury duty because I'd be like, this guy killed 5 people. I'd be like, yeah, but what was going on in his life at the time? Like, let's talk about, I'm like the worst. I could never do jury duty.
I'm the opposite.
Yeah. And that's fine. And I think a lot of people are. Like, I get it. Yeah, I get it. So like, I don't know what the right answer is, but I see this kind of welcoming environment. And I think like in the other reptile arenas, they'll crap on people and call out people who, even people who haven't necessarily been in trouble before, but who aren't doing things the right way. And I don't see necessarily a lot of that. And I don't necessarily think it's the right answer either. And I'm certainly not one that wants to go and do that. But I guess my question is, am I doing something wrong because I'm not willing to get involved and I just want to do things for the right reason and not be involved? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I can't really elaborate too much. Sorry.
Just love having these conversations with myself.
Very one-sided, I know.
Oh my God.
One day I'll be good on
That's
this. I promise. One day.
You are good. You were really good when you were crapping on my podcast. But that was a good idea. That was a good idea because you're getting brownie points with Shannon if she listens to this, which is good.
I don't think Shannon listened past the first 15 minutes.
No. Of me?
Yeah,
because you're saying it got better.
The worst.
It got worse. I was a little bit rattled by the GPS. We don't have to talk about that more. It's okay. I mean, it'll just keep coming up on its own.
I want you to redo it focused on like just that last bit.
I appreciate you for that. Thank you so much. Thank you. So Dominique thinks that we need to self-police, which I agree with. And she says people get too many second chances. Yeah, but so this was my thought, and this is why I was phrasing it, or was kind of painting that picture, and alluding to the fact that we have so many people who like have been convicted of wildlife crimes who are really active in the turtle space. Is what do you do? Which I kind of got to, but then the next step is, okay, what happens when you're out there and someone's like, wow, this guy's been really active, right? Like when I met the new state herpetologist for Connecticut, we actually went out in the field together, and I introduced myself, and he's like, oh yeah, Anthony, I know of you, the turtle room guy. Like, okay, great. And it wasn't like, hey, like I've watched the Pondcast before. Like, no, I heard of this turtle guy in Connecticut, and I had to, do my due diligence to kind of see if there's any dirt on this guy. That's how I took it, which may be a little true and maybe not true, but I certainly think that they do that. Like if they hear that there's somebody in their state who's really, really involved, or there's a Facebook page, like Connecticut Turtle and Tortoise Enthusiasts, right? That's a page that Kevin and I are involved in, right? If that exists, they are looking at that, right? So what image do you want to put out there? And what does it say when you're buddy with somebody who now they look up and it says so-and-so was arrested for XYZ?
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's something that was just kind of in my mind. I'm not the type of person to pass judgment on anyone. I don't even really feel comfortable talking about this sort of stuff. But I just wonder, how do we combat that a little bit, and how do we be more playful? Because we talked about Zach Loafman coming on. He's praised the turtle side of things as being the best part of the reptile hobby in terms of conservation, or at least preservation. That we're actually looking at animals and trying to work with animals that need it, and we're being real about kind of how what effect it actually has on conservation or preservation, and that sort of thing. Whereas snake, geckos, lizards, that sort of thing, like, I'm breeding these to see who wants to buy them. And I'm trying to make a business where I think a lot less people, the majority of people who, I've dedicated my life to turtles to an embarrassing level. But I'm not interested, and maybe I was 15 years ago, but I'm not interested in having a business. And I know I'm not alone in the turtle space, but I think that would be really rare in like the snake circles or whatever. So I don't know. I'm just rambling, but tell me what you think, Kev.
I want to build upon what Dominique's talking about. She had said that a lot of the most famous people in the hobby, came up with shady backgrounds, and have they done good things? Sure, but should you idolize people that smuggle animals or abuse animals, and it's no. And she said, where do we draw the line as a hobby? So my question I proposed after that was, at what point do their positive contributions outweigh their negative past, right? If you look at somebody like Crutchfield, right, world-renowned smuggler, but what he's doing now as far as like bringing information out to people on how to take care of animals, I think is very impactful. And where she's saying, outside of the hobby, nobody cares if you're working on SSP for turtles. Sorry, Anthony, she says. But they absolutely care if you smuggle in thousands of baby turtles, across the Atlantic in socks. So proposing that question, right? Like, you believe in second chances. And I mean, I do to an extent, depending on how egregious it is. But at what point can the positive contributions they can make kind of outweigh their sullied past? What do you think?
Great question. Crutchfield's a great example. Like, we're going to see the new version of Tiger King come out that stars Tom and Stacy Crutchfield, and I'm nervous. I'm nervous about how that's going to affect the hobby, because I really do love Tom, and I know that he's done a lot of shady stuff in the past, and I love reading those books. That was like my version of like the Real Housewives, being able to read these tales of a time past, Lizard King, and also the other book, Stolen World, as well. And I don't know. And I guess the answer is it doesn't. So in the movie, in the Martin Scorsese film Casino, the gangsters were smart enough to have this guy that they knew who was like smart or whatever be like the face of their casinos. He was like the public relations type person. So like, I don't know, like who out there is doing things positively, who actually wants to kind of stand up and be the face of that side of things. Like I'll use Chris as an example, right? Chris sold turtles forever, right? It was his business. It still is, partially. But now when he talks about like what he does for a living, like optically what he does for a living, he's a herpetologist and he's actually out in the field doing that work, which is true. It's great. And I'm not trying to like call Chris a coward when he's not here. He's with his family in Disney right now. But like, I feel like any one of us would do that, you know, like I'm a turtle guy and I love what I do with the turtle room and it is my identity, but ask me what I do. Like I run a veterinary hospital. Like that's what I do and who I am. So
I manage retail stores.
Right. But I mean, that's also an American thing too. Like we don't ask people, hey, how are you doing? What are you into? We ask people, hey, what do you do for a living? You know? Yeah. So I don't know. I think like, I don't know who those like poster children could be for, and I hate the word, the hobby. And I also hate the word, the industry, but for this turtle world, this turtle people world. And what does that look like? Right. So, you know, there's, I don't want to say any names because I don't want to be rude, but there's like, when there's been legislation coming out, there was somebody who went to testify. Awesome. We all need to testify. But this person was like after it, you know, and they're a really well-known turtle breeder and they're going out and they're testifying. Somebody who's been arrested for turtle related offenses, you know. Hold on. You're muted, Kev, unless something's wrong with my stuff. I couldn't hear you just then. So like, that's kind of what I'm getting at too. Like, I think, yes, it's important to mobilize and get stuff going, but I just feel like there's so many holes in who we are, if that makes sense. Kevin just left.
Yep. We lost Kevin for now. Hopefully he'll be back here shortly. Oh, there he is.
I'm embarrassed. Do you think what I said made him want to leave? Or
that had to be it. I think he was having some technical difficulties there. So, but yeah, you know, Dominique's here making some good points in the chat as well. You know, some of us who might be able to be so-called positive faces have sort of, you know, distanced ourselves a little bit because of the negative stigma, or we've gotten more into the conservation side of things. And, you know, and I think that's a good point for sure.
That's what I'm saying. And that's what I mean by Chris saying, hey, I'm a herpetologist now. Like, this is who I am. I'm a herpetologist. Like, no, you were the face of like breeding turtles the right way. But at a certain point, you got sick of everyone saying you stole Blanding's turtles from the wild, which wasn't the case.
And the people that were constantly trying to duplicate his Facebook account to like steal his reputation to sell animals and whatever else. Like at some point, you're just like, you know,
and scam people. Yeah, that's a big one too. I'm just going to say this: if you have to go and ask in this day and age now, it's different than it was 10 years ago. But if you have to go and ask someone, hey, do you know this so-and-so? Do you know this person? Because they're trying to sell me an Aldabra for $200 and it seems too good to be true. Stop yourself before you even ask and just know that it is a scam in today's day and age. Can we just do that? Can we all make that promise right now that we're not going to, because the funny thing is I have like 1 million Facebook friends that I don't know. And people will reach out to me all the time, like, "Hey, do you know this guy? I don't really know. Seems fishy." I'm like, yes, it's fishy. If you don't know who they are and you're trying to buy an animal from them on Facebook, it is fishy, and you should just stop. And that goes back to that kind of like pumping the brakes, taking it slow sort of thing. It should be the same way with acquiring animals. You shouldn't be just waiting for the right deal. And I know it's tough because we're all balling on a budget. And when you see something that you've either been waiting for a long time that hasn't been available, or it's the right price, you want to jump on it. But let me just tell you, anytime you have to ask, I shouldn't say anytime, never say never, Justin Bieber. 95% of the time, it's somebody who is trying to
Nefarious means.
pull one over on you. Yeah. Trying to steal your money straight up. So who is Casa de Finch? Do we know that? Do you know who that is?
I'm not sure.
Said that Greg can be the face. I'm down
does
with
look
that.
very
I think Greg
familiar.
should definitely be the face of the turtle movement. Greg Brashear from Greg's Turtle Haven. If you're not subscribed to his YouTube, if you're listening to this and you're not subscribed to his YouTube, what's going on? Come get it together. Greg
Yeah,
is really
know
chill
about it.
and really great. You should be listening. You should be tuning into his stuff. And I agree that he could totally be the face of this. I agree. But you know what, though? He doesn't sell animals either.
Dude, he's
So,
got a mean pop shove
and-
it.
What's that?
He's got a mean pop shove it.
What is that? A skateboarding thing?
Skateboarding.
Pop shove it?
Yeah, he knows. Doesn't matter.
Do our listeners
That
know?
was
I don't
that
know.
was for him. They may. They could look it up.
But will they, though? We're already asking them to.
Maybe
We don't even ask them to.
Maybe they're
to
curious
Google
enough.
Scientific names. We tell them the common name here, too. Like the pitted turtle
Yes, somebody had a.
of Papua New Guinea.
Andrew Rogers had said the pitted shell turtle name was just a briefly used common name given to the New Guinean population because of the fine pitted depressions on the carapace skin.
They've got issues over there, that population. It's not good.
You don't know, man.
I don't know. I told you I didn't know. I told you I didn't. Listen, this has been fun. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being here. I can't believe Viviana jumped in. That was awesome.
That was the best.
Everyone, don't hesitate to subscribe to Greg's Turtle Haven. Tune into Dominique's Modern Medusa podcast when she has Viviana on. Inevitably, check out the Colonia cast with our friends from Texas on the next couple episodes. You can see my episode 3 as well, which was a lot of fun that we recorded. And don't hesitate to pick up from Bonfire your Turtle People Are My Favorite People t-shirt. That one's going to go over really well. It's got like combination of like good turtle content that's just the right amount of corny and not too corny. Like it doesn't have like the cartoon turtle on it, which I really appreciate. And that's going to get you some looks at the grocery store. That's going to be a good one. I'm just saying. I'm definitely getting that one in a 3XL.
I didn't show the back last time, so there's the back.
Yeah, with the logo on the back, the long logo with be a turtle hero. So this is your chance to be a turtle hero. And proceeds from that go to conservation, Stephen? For the PH?
Our conservation and education programs.
I love it. See how good you are? You know exactly where everything goes to.
It's right there on the screen.
I'm embarrassed. I can't see that on my screen. I don't have my readers on. I don't really have readers. I made that up. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Steve, thanks for all the work that you put into this and the behind the scenes work as well. And Kev, thanks for making it better late than never, my friend. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Happy to be
Appreciate
here.
you guys.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys. What is it? I wasn't ready for that, Ant. There we go.
That was funny.
Yeah, I wasn't quite ready for that.
That was funny.
That
I'm
was a good
sorry.
show.
Ah,
I don't know. I don't know if I liked it. I like this
It was
new
okay.
format a lot. I like this format a lot.
As far as
Well,
the
you know-
comments, it's a million times better.
Oh God, it's so great. It's tough now. Actually,
Minto.
I find myself not being able to get through thoughts because I'm reading the chat. Which
Yeah.
is,
Minto, can you
which is great.
Can you respond?
Oh, she said we're live again. I'm embarrassed.
I can't.